Aprendimos a quererte desde la histórica altura donde el sol de tu bravura le puso cerco a la muerte.
Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara.
Tu mano gloriosa y fuerte sobre la historia dispara cuando todo Santa Clara se despierta para verte.
Aquí se queda la clara, la entrañable transparencia de tu querida presencia, comandante Che Guevara.
Welcome, everyone, and please do not at me about the horrors of Revolutionary War. I get it. Trust me, I understand. I like the song. Also, Che Guevara was pretty based. I mean, there's some problems with revolutions that they can get a little bloody, but Che Guevara is pretty based. I hope I didn't nuke my my VOD for that. But hey, welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all having a good day. Hey, we got ourselves a bit of a lineup for you. We're gonna go over a little bit of CPAC stuff. Gonna like a couple of things from CPAC. I'm not doing any of today's. I mean, it was 6 hours of boring shit. The most exciting person talking was Mike Pompeo. I know Lauren Boebert talked too. I'm sure she said some ridiculous shit. Maybe I'll try to find like a Lauren Boebert quote, or not quote, but like her speech at CPAC, and see if I can just get that. So I'm sure we can get at least something halfway interesting. Let's see. 2021. Nope, this is a 2-hour clip of just fucking Mike Pompeo and Lauren Boebert. There's no way they talked for 2 hours, right? No way. Like, Lauren Boebert doesn't have 2 hours worth of shit to say. She literally got into like her seat in the House because she was the girl who was like, I'll carry a gun because gun. Like, there's no chance she had 2 hours worth of shit to say. What else? We'll go over, oh, you know what? We'll go over the Mr. Potato Head thing too, because that was impressively dumb. And if we have a little bit of time, maybe talk about some cartoons. But hey, I hope you stick around. Hope you enjoy. We'll start with Mr. Potato Head, actually. I'm just going to go to Twitter Potato Head. I don't even know if I want to make this a segment or not, because it's so innocuous and, like, stupid that it's not even worth talking about, really. But it was just very, very funny. Oh, is there a Mr. Potato Head account on Twitter? Oh, no. Is this new? June 2007. Whoever has this account slept on this so hard. They could have been doing Mr. Potato Head shit, dude. Come on. Like, if you're gonna make a fucking... And Mark Dice's tweets at the top. Oh, shit. Oh, boy. Okay. So... should I do this as a segment? What do you guys think? I honestly don't know if it needs to be one or not. It's kind of innocuous and pointless, right? But, like, what else do we do but innocuous and pointless over here? You know what? Actually, the dumbest man on the internet I did see made a potato head video. So that can be a segment. We out here making moves. Okay. Then no, there needs to be a follow-up from Hasbro in here. Where's the Hasbro follow-up? As you can tell, I was very prepared for the stream. How y'all, is that a fucking anime My Little Pony? Just give me the account for Hasbro, Jesus. The internet's a weird place, man. There we go. There we go. As we all know, conservative media only makes sure to talk about things of the utmost importance. Whether that be, you know, their people freezing to death in Texas and then blaming, you know, green energy because obviously that's what caused it. Or it's avoiding metal detectors because they don't want to have to walk through a metal detector so they can't carry a gun into the Senate. Or if it's just, I don't know, gay people. You know, no, they gave up on gay people getting married because they obviously knew they were going to lost. Now it's trans people needing to go to the bathroom in the bathroom that's not assigned to them at birth. Like, of all of the utmost importance. So, of course, a couple days ago, the just grandest discourse of all happened. And I actually, when I woke up in the morning and I saw that Mr. Potato Head was trending on Twitter and saw why, I decided to log out of Twitter for the day. I didn't come back on until, like, I think, no, the day's a lie. I got off work and then I checked in to see, like, how dumb the Mr. Potato Head discourse got. And, well, while it got very dumb, it also had already gotten rolled back in a what is just a absolute marketing ploy of essentially, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to appease a bunch of, like, not even lefties, appease some liberals who like the performative stuff while also really pissing off the right to get them stirred up and start talking about it. Then we'll pull it back so that the left talks about it a little bit. Once again, not really the left, liberals talk about it a little bit, but the right will then go, yes, see, Hasbro is sticking with real values. And they're going to go ahead and just go out and buy some fucking potato heads because that's what they do. When the right thinks there's a company that's on their side, they go and just buy their shit, even if it's stuff that they don't want or the company is obviously just signaling off to them. But before we get too far into just some of the dumbest stuff around in the last week, if you get to the end of the video and you enjoy the content, please leave a like on the channel and subscribe. Leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I am very smart. It helps the channel grow a lot, and I really, really do appreciate it. And with the poor shilling out of the way, let me show you a little bit of what we're talking about here, just in case you have a very fortunate life, and I won't say fortunate life, just in case you've made better choices than I have, and you weren't on Twitter to see this. Mr. Potato Head is no longer a Mr. Hasbro, the company that makes the potato-shaped plastic toy, is giving the Spud a gender-neutral new name, Potato Head. The change will appear on boxes this year. pretty innocuous, right? No one like it's a potato. Mr. Potato Heads have always been it's a potato with holes in it, and you put little pieces of plastic, and now it's a doctor, or now it's a nurse, or now it's a teacher, now it's a fireman, now it has a mustachio. Like, and I mean, originally it wasn't even a plastic potato. It was the plastic pieces that you stuck into a potato. Like, it was already a very, very gender neutral toy that no one really was asking for. Like, no one's asking for this. No one really cared. And this kind of what if this landed in a world where right wingers weren't constantly engaged in what they think is a culture war, then this would have been a absolute nothing. Like, no one on the left or liberals even would have looked at it and said anything. Because it's a potato. Like, no one cares. It's just a potato. Now, they did have Mrs. Potato Heads and, like, the potato children and stuff. And, like, I guess technically it wasn't gender neutral on its packaging. But it was always just a potato. And then if you wanted the doctor one, you got the doctor one. And stuff like that. And then you'd get the extra pieces and slot them in. Like, I don't think I have to explain how playing with a Mr. Potato Head works to you. Now, like I said, if this had landed in the liberal world, just nothing. No one gives a shit. But if you scroll down slightly, you can see Mark Dice just competing every day for the dumbest man on the internet with Salty Cracker. It's time for Republican states to secede. Like, legit. This is why it's time for Republican states to secede. Because there's no longer a gendered, like, not even, is Mr. even, I'm showing how stupid I am right now. Is Mr. even a pronoun? Yeah, it's a pronoun. Like, this is why it's time for Republican states to secede. Because their potatoes are now going to be pushing that it's okay to wear a dress if you're a Mr. Potato Head, even though kids will literally not know the difference, because it's still just a plastic potato. And I mean, you go through it here, and you got stuff like political correctness has gone too far. Like, it was a whole bunch of ridiculous right-wing pundits acting like this is a part of a culture war. Ben Shapiro talked about it. Fucking, it was on Fox News. And it's all people literally saying the same thing I am. It's a potato. No one gives a shit. Except then they would follow it up with, and this is why the woke left is destroying our values and destroying our children. Fucking nonsense. And just to follow up what I was saying before about how this was literally just to drum up some controversy and then get righties to start buying their shit, Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head is still on the packaging. They still sell Mr. and Mrs. Potato Heads. All they did was change the brand name to Potato Head instead of Mr. Potato Head. So instead of buying a Mr. Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head, you're buying a Potato Head, Mrs. Potato Head. The most nothing innocuous fucking bullshit ever in the world, right? This is now, let's be very, very clear here. Hasbro didn't mock up a new box and get their packaging and everything done in fucking like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because, oh no, the right-wingers have gotten mad and will stop buying our toys. This was obviously already marked up, already made, and was part of the plan. Like, this was a free marketing campaign. Literally all it took was them getting the Associated Press to report one article for them and then making a second tweet, and they got maybe, I don't know, millions of dollars, but probably hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of marketing. I mean, I'm talking about a fucking potato head right now. Literally, no. When was the last one anyone, or sorry, when was the last time anyone has thought of the potato head shit, except when they're currently actively watching Toy Story? Not even after, as you see the potato head on screen. Outside of that, when was the last time anyone has thought of it? Now they've gotten market share from it, literally just because righties decided that this needed to be their Alamo. Like, and I brought up the dumbest man on the internet earlier, didn't I? Well, lucky for you, I didn't do that for no reason. You remember how he thinks the meme cannons are gonna get that Biden admin out? Well, the meme cannons apparently have brought them the grand victory today of Mr. Potato Head still being called Mr. Potato Head.
All right, everyone, this is a stick-up!
Mr. and Mrs. You gotta keep them together because they're madly in love. Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and Mrs.
Mr. and Mrs.
The United States of America.
Well, my friends, chalk another win up for the bad guys. About to go to bed, and I just saw that we broke these idiots.
Imagine your life being so sad that you think that Hasbro's marketing ploy is a win for you. Like, holy shit.
You guys firing the 88mm meme cannons into the night have forced Hasbro to succumb to common sense, and they've decided, you know what? We looking like some straight up fools over here by getting rid of Mr. Potato Head. You gonna get rid of Mrs. Potato Head? No, we ain't getting rid of Mrs. Potato Head. We're just gonna get rid of that patriarchy, Mr. Potato Head. Well, how well that work out?
Wow. Okay. That's not a take I'd even think I'd see. Cause no one that, like I said, even Dave Rubin talked about this stupid shit. And not even Dave Rubin managed to get this dumb of a take out. Like, that if they had gone through with taking out the Mr. Potato Head branding and were no longer selling gendered potato heads at all, then they would also have gotten rid of Mrs. Potato Head. Like, this dude's brain doesn't function past like the 8 words that he sees in a fucking headline. It's actually impressive. I kind of wonder like how he manages to get out the door without just tripping and fucking breaking his neck on his doorstep, on like his step every day, because he can't tie his shoes, right?
For you. We made you assholes change course in just a few hours. That meme game is strong on our side, my friends. First, we got LinkedIn to take down that stupid Be Less White Coca-Cola bullshit, and now we saved Mr. Potato Head. We on a roll, my friends. Let's fix that fucking 2020 election while we're at it. Take a look at this, guys. Let's head over to their Twitter account from the official Hasbro Twitter account, my friends. Hold that taut, your main spud, Mr. Potato. Fucking hell. How did we win this?
Oh, hold on. I didn't see that mark. Why wasn't that Mark Dice? Is that deleted? Did this get... Hold on. Is Mark Dice's tweet in here? It is! Mr. Potato Head is a racist caricature of an African American. Why is such a hateful product even sold today? Like... Are you kidding me? Holy shit. The right's getting better at comedy, and the left is very afraid. Or, I'm sorry, the left is getting nervous. Like,
I'm telling you right now.
oh boy. Actually, we should be watching Mark Dice instead of this dude. Like, I think Mark Dice has at least realized how stupid he is, and there's just the soulless look in his eyes as he drones shit out. Salty Cracker I think he still thinks that he's like winning in life.
I can't imagine a good portion of the Hasbro executives have a bunch of shithead sons and daughters who talk like this. But anyway, listen, a win's a win. Anyway, hold that taut, your main spud, Mr. Potato Head isn't going anywhere. While it was announced today that Potato Head brand name and logo are dropping the Mr., I am fuck, you know, I'm not reading anymore. Screw you guys. They fixed it. Right? They go in the right direction. They still lame as shit, and this is awful, but they go into the right direction. But by the way, that confirms what we were all saying, because a lot of people were saying, no, they're not saving Mythos Potato Head. They're just going to make a gender-neutral version. No. That tweet right there, it just flat out tells you from the Spud source itself, my friends, they were only going to get rid of Mr. Potato Head. They were going to keep the Mrs.
Wait,
one.
what?
Now, Mrs. is totally fine.
I'm sorry, what? Hold on. What the fuck are you talking about? Mr. Potato Head isn't going anywhere. Say the Potato Head brand and name and Lego are dropping Mr. Pronounce the Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head aren't going anywhere and will remain Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. That literally says that that Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head aren't going anywhere. You know what? Like I said, he can't get past 8 words. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I lied. He can get to 9. He got to Potato Head. Like, because that's the only way if you are in good faith, can get that interpretation from what you just read. Is if you stopped right here.
Mythos Potato Head doesn't offend anybody, right? We can have a Mythos Potato Head, and we can have a them, their, she, ma'am fucking version of the potato over here, but we can't have that Mr. one. Told you, assholes. Had nothing to do with anything about increasing sales amongst a bunch of kids who are hyper interested in buying gender-neutral fucking toys. Has everything to do with fighting patriarchy.
Patriarchy.
It has everything, like, it amazes me when right-wingers get so close, but they can't actually, like, get to it. Literally, this entire thing's point was to sell potato heads to people like you after they think that they won some culture war, while the people on the left and liberals who were ever going to buy their kid a potato head will still just buy it anyway, because they don't give a shit. Literally, this is a marketing campaign aimed at your outrage.
And we called you idiots out on it, and we memed you into oblivion, made you crumble and succumb to the sheer amount of weight of our common sense, and you guys look like fools. I can't wait to see the left-hand side start reading and screaming that you guys folded on them. What a big mess. What a gigantic clusterfuck. Let this be a lesson, by the way.
He had to have been live streaming this or something and just, like, not thought to wait 10 minutes to look at anyone's reaction, because no one on the left is cared. Like, no one gives a shit that the Potato Head had a different branding name. Literally, the only reason this is a news story is because of people like yours reaction.
To any of you corporations looking to take advantage of these mentally ill losers of the left, all of these pricks with daddy issues and their mental insecurities, stop trying to take advantage of them. Stop trying to market to broken people, because it's not going to be worth your time. They're never going to be happy, by the way. Making a non-gendered fucking potato, they'll find something to be upset about. If you would have went in that direction, you would have bent the knee to these mentally ill losers, and they would have they'd smell hormone blockers and blood in the water, and they would just come for, it'd be something else. Like, oh my god, you only made one gender-neutral fucking potato persons? Well, like, there's 72 genders. You need to have, like, 72, it's not worth it.
How does that joke even work? Like, this dude puts himself down and is a comedy channel, too. It's one of those things the right-wingers do so you can say, well, it's just jokes, bro. But how does this even work as a joke? You literally just said gender neutral, and then you're like, but then they'd want 72, because there's 72 defining gender identities. Like, but you said the words gender neutral. Like, but they'd want 72 gender neutral ones. So potatoes. They want potatoes. Like, the structure of the joke just doesn't work at all. I mean, let's just get to the end of it here. This dude's so fucking stupid.
You idiots are trying to placate mentally ill people. We're gonna mock and meme the shit out of you and destroy your bottom line. We're gonna mess up your stonks and blow out your market value by making fun of you. It ain't worth doing, right? Just go out there, just make toys, just keep doing what you're fucking doing, and don't worry about the loud side of Twitter, right? They're insane. They're insane and insatiable. Alright, everybody, thank you so much for watching the video, supporting the channel. If you were out there...
Okay, so, to sum this up, no... It like the potato head thing doesn't really matter. No one really cares that the potato head brand changed and that they're still selling Mr. and Mrs. Potato Heads or whatever. And really the best lesson that we can take from this here is, guys, girls, non-binary friends of all types, if you're ever thinking like, hey, I wonder if I'm good enough, or I wonder if I'm smart enough to follow my dreams and do something I want to do, Salty Cracker has over 500,000 subscribers. That guy. You're smart enough. Don't worry about it. Alright, that was a decent segment, I think. Fuck, Salty Cracker's so stupid. It actually blows my mind every time I watch one of his videos. Him and Mark Dice are pretty much the only people that get me to go down the, like, slightly ableism-y route. Because they're just so fucking dumb. It's not even like a thing where they dumb down their message for their audience like Ben Shapiro or what have you. They're just actually really stupid. And it's honestly kind of impressive. Like, I wish I could go on being that impressively dumb and just fucking, it just doesn't matter. Where's this event at? There we go. There we go. Sorry, I'm just making sure my streams are still live. They are. Good. I've been having to fight with my ISP recently. Had to have him come replace the line and everything. Because that's when my streams were dying. I pay for like 800 down, 50 up, and I was getting like 80 down, 2 up. Until they went and replaced the line out front of my house. I'm sure they're just not throttling me anymore, and that it'll happen again in like a little bit. Let's do a palate cleanser. Actually, no. We'll do one more video, one more treatsies for you, and then we're gonna look at yesterday's Democracy Now! Because I actually got very busy yesterday at work and did not get a chance to watch it. So we're gonna watch it together. It'll be a treat. And then maybe we'll do like some AOC content. Or no, I'll do the rest of the CPAC stuff and then maybe some AOC after. Young Pharaoh, are you banned off of fucking Twitter already, bro? No way. Did you get banned? Yeah, he did. Holy shit. No, he's not. No, he's not. I'm a liar. It is. It is suspended. Why is this in fucking Spanish? What? Yeah, this dude got fucking banned off Twitter. Shit. That's not cool, dude. I need this for a segment. Damn it. I should have screenshotted these. Did you screenshot them for me? No, he didn't. Damn it. Thank God somebody at least got one of the ones I wanted to talk about. There we go. Okay. Okay. Recently, CPAC 2021, or as they're liking to call it, the America Uncancelled Tour, has kind of shown why cancel culture really isn't the thing, and it's more accountability culture is what we're at now. And why is that? Well, there's someone who not offensive enough because honestly, there's people at CPAC 2021 who have done and said way worse shit than this guy, but they weren't a black rapper, so they have a little bit less scrutiny on them for getting to stay at CPAC. But recently, a rapper by the name of Young Pharaoh has been canceled by the right for not being able to go to CPAC 2021. I believe he was going to rap and speak because of some anti-Semitic comments that he made. Now, when Gina Carano makes them, it's fine. When Ben Shapiro says that Palestinians live in live in sewage and like to bomb things, it's cool. Like, all these people, that kind of stuff is fine. Literally, people who hang out with David Duke, it's cool. Come on down. Now, don't get me wrong. What Young Pharaoh said was not good. It's not great, and we're going to go over it before we go ahead and go over a clip about, like, what this whole, like, canceling thing's about. But it's just very, very ironic that CPAC is calling itself CPAC 2021 is calling itself America Uncancelled. Now, we've been saying for years that canceling isn't, like, we aren't exactly canceling people unless it's, like, within a group, like what the trans community was trying to do to Natalie or ContraPoints was canceling. Like, that's within your own group for a perceived slight that's against that in-group is canceling. Now, actually, hold on. I'm turning myself around here. Young Pharaoh did get canceled. I'm going to go ahead and go say about it. Because the left already wasn't fucking with this dude. Nobody was fucking with this dude. That might be a bad take. Yeah, that's a bad take. I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna restart this recording, guys. That was a shit take. Like, I just realized what I was saying midway through it. He absolutely is not getting canceled because the left doesn't fuck with him already. Like, absolutely. Well, maybe. Hold on. There's some discourse to be had here about that. And I'll tell you why he's being canceled here. Because it's within his own group, and like I said, the left already wasn't messing, like, we weren't dealing with this guy at all. So that left the right, centrists, and people who are kind of, apolitical within his own group for a perceived slight, or, like in this case, him tarnishing their image, he has been removed from the discourse. That's actually canceling. Like, there's a conversation to be had here about whether that's just accountability culture in the first place. I'd say that there's no real cancel culture. It's an accountability culture. But being canceled within your in-group can happen. So, young Pharaoh is being held accountable by everybody. But it's the right that canceled the dude, because they're the ones that were trying to platform him in the first place. Now, before we get too far into this, if you enjoy the video and get to the end, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate it a ton. And with the shill out of the way, we'll take a look here at a little bit of why he was not allowed at CPAC. First off, this is young Pharaoh. This is why what he said got him kicked off, by the way. This right here. Because once again, there's people at CPAC who have done and said way worse shit. It's that he's a black rapper who has done and said these things. Like, and we'll go over, like, exactly what it is here. Let's see. No, this is his response. So, he went out tweeting $50,000 for the top Jewish rabbi who can prove the validity of Judaism. I own my own debate league and invite you to debate me in front of the world. In the meantime, subscribe to blah 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 and become a genius today. Oh, by the way, he describes himself as a polymath, which if you don't know what that is, that's like fucking Leonardo da Vinci and people like that. People who are literally the top of multiple fields that then come together to almost create a new field. He's not. He had 50,000 subscribers on Twitter until it got nuked for the anti-Semitic shit he said. Send me your best rabbi to debate me on anything I've said. If not, kindly refrain from speaking in me. So he absolutely was getting lit up because of the things he's said about Jewish people. And I mean, if you go back through his Instagram and if you can find some archives of his tweets, there's a lot of stuff where he's talking about Jewish cabals and stuff like that. It's a lot of the Jewish question stuff that you'll see from your average right-winger is the kind of thing that he was doing. So kind of almost naturally, of course, he was kicked off. That's not... I can't even say that the CPAC made a bad call not letting this dude on stage. It's just very, very funny to have that coming from the America Uncanceled people. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just naming a file. The America Uncanceled peoples here. Now, here's his response. This is censorship at its best. All because I said I don't believe in the validity of Judaism and I'm willing to place $50,000 on myself to debate the top Jewish rabbi. Now I'm no longer invited to CPAC, a racist dictatorship. Now, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It is the reason that he wasn't allowed is because he's a black dude who said these things. But him saying these things is also part of the reason that he's not allowed up there. This is pretty anti-Semitic stuff. No one needs to debate the validity of their religion with you. If you can't see why that's anti-Semitic, you're really beyond help. Now, with all that being said, let's go ahead and see Michael Knowles either... I don't know. I haven't actually watched this video. He's either going to be complaining about how America Uncanceled is not willing to stand up for people with real conservative opinions, because Michael Knowles goes pretty mask off every once in a while. Or, and hear me out here, I think this is what it's going to be, he's going to talk about how, well, it's just accountability, and we didn't really cancel him, so it's not really, it's still called American Uncanceled, and that's fine. That's what I'm willing to bet this is going to be.
And this brings us to CPAC. The Conservative Political Action Conference has been going on for a long time. The American Conservative Union puts it on. It's always a very fun event. I went last year where we did a verdict episode with Ted Cruz. I've been going for years and years. I think I went to my first CPAC 10 years ago. CPAC's title this year is America Uncanceled, fighting back against cancel culture and fine, fair enough. But they just found out that one of their speakers, this guy, young Pharaoh, who I don't know what he does, but I don't know, he's like some pop culture guy or something.
You know he's a rapper, Michael Knowles. Come on. Come on, dude. You know he's a rapper. You put up a picture of him wearing a giant flashy gold watch and the chain and shit. He was invited to rap. You know he's a rapper. Like, it's weird to me that part of the aesthetic has to be pretending that you don't know what black culture is.
Young Pharaoh has said some very offensive things about Jews and other people. So what does CPAC do? They cancel him from their roster. Now CPAC is being called hypocrites because they're indulging in cancel culture. I don't think CPAC is being hypocritical at all. I think it is.
You don't think they're being hypocrites by calling themselves America Uncanceled because they're complaining about things like this happening to people, you know, being held accountable for their actions, calling that cancel culture, but then doing the same thing. You don't think that's hypocritical?
The shallowest, stupidest read of the term cancel culture to suggest that you can never have any standards at all. I think it is that kind of a shallow interpretation.
That is because cancel culture, a term created by your party, is a shallow term. It has no depth to it because the people who came up with it are idiots. Like, absolutely, that's what cancel culture means, because you meant being angry that Roseanne didn't get to have a show anymore. Or being angry, not even that because she said one thing before, because she continued to say shit. Being angry that Gina Carano didn't get her contract renewed because of anti-Semitic comments. You on your show were talking about that like 2 weeks ago. Like, this is absolutely the definition that you have laid out for cancel culture, and now that you have to lay in bed with it, you're upset.
That has allowed political correctness to advance for decades and decades. And actually, if you believe the argument of my book, it's been advancing for about a century. There is nothing conservative about removing all the guardrails. Think about it like a country.
About a century. Like, civil rights, and what is it that he has that happened in the 20s and 30s that he's not too happy about? That, like, was cancel culture-y? Like, it wasn't as easy to beat your wife anymore? Because it was still pretty easy. Let's see. Like, there's not much. Is it just the basic not being able to own slaves? Like, because I honestly can't think of what you describe as a progression of cancer culture a full century back. Like, even if we go back to 1921, what in 1921 is this cancel culture catalyst that you have to talk about, Michael Knowles?
Think about it just like a country. A country needs borders. That was what Merrick Garland finally acknowledged that Joe Biden thinks about. He says, well, look, he believes that it's a country that has borders. All countries have borders. And what borders mean is some people are in and some people are out. A certain area defines what the country is, and things outside that area, that's not the country. The same thing is true in our philosophy. Do you think if CPAC invited someone to speak, forget about, anti-Jewish comments.
Okay, let's move this to the analogy that you just wanted to use then. Let's say America gave someone citizenship, full, not even a visa, full citizenship. And then, like, they were here and they were about to do some stuff. And then we were like, LOL, nah. Get back over, though. would that not be a deportation? Because that's where the logic, like, if you're going to use this as a comparison, that's the logical, like, road to go down. Young Pharaoh was invited to speak, then was uninvited to speak before he got to. He wasn't just never invited to speak. It's not anything like somebody not being able to come in your country's borders.
Let's make it even more basic than that. Some guy gets invited to speak at CPAC, and then in between the time he gets invited and the time he speaks, he becomes a liberal Democrat. And he wants to give a speech on how great AOC is and how he can't wait to vote for Joe Biden's reelection, or better yet, Kamala Harris.
Well, considering that your party has decided that any consequences of your actions that result from anything political is cancel culture, then yes, that would be cancel culture. Sorry that you have to lay in your own stupid bed that you've made.
Do you think CPAC has an obligation, you know, in its opposition to cancel culture, an obligation to put that guy on stage? No, of course not. If anything, CPAC has an obligation to take that guy off the roster, because this is the conservative political action conference.
Yeah, except, and then they shouldn't have named themselves America Uncanceled. Then, like, this is such a fucking nonsense string of arguments. There's, 40 seconds left in this video, and not a single thing he said has had any merit to it.
And conservatism stands for something. We're debating what that stands for. But we absolutely must define it. And actually, the unwillingness, the cowardly unwillingness to define what conservatives stand for is what has made us lose many, many, many times over the past several decades.
What's made you lose many, many, many times over the past several decades is that conservative opinions are very unpopular. That's it. Like, so, I mean, let's be clear here. There's no good reason that young Pharaoh should be allowed to say those things and then get a spot to speak politically or go rap at your conference or anything. But if you want to call yourself America Uncanceled, and your group has laid out what you call cancel culture, when you do the thing that you have laid out as cancel culture, you have to accept that you're being a hypocrite. People will call you out as hypocrites when you're being a hypocrite. It's just basic shit. Oh boy, that was impressively dumb. I don't know how people watch like Michael Knowles and shit like that and think that there's anything worth it there. Let me rename this file real quick. I need to name that Pharaoh 2 because I canceled it. Cancel culture. I canceled that recording halfway through because I was like, oh, well, that's a pretty bad argument. But then I came back around and liked the argument. What the fuck is this? Hold on, we're gonna see. I didn't know if you knew this, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. If you disagree... Oh, that's the Steven Crowder thing. Delete. They can delete the Senate one, too. SJWs, Pharaohs. Let's see. Okay. I need to do this Ted Cruz video for sure. I don't want to do Dave Rubin. I really don't want to do Dave Rubin. I'm not doing Dave Rubin. Fuck it. And we'll do a AOC, a Ted Cruz, and maybe is there a clip of Lone Berber at the fucking CPAC 2021 yet? Because I don't care what Mike Pompeo or Tom fucking Cotton have to say. God, Tom Cotton's such garbage. Great. Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about how the Equality Act would harm women. Let's check that out real quick. Hold on.
Thank you. What are we doing in America? That's my question. This is a country that was founded by brave people seeking religious freedom, demanding that they're able to protect their Second Amendment rights, creating a country where they could run their businesses and not be overtaxed by a tyrannical government. But now we find ourselves in a time where Democrats are running, indeed, a tyrannical Congress and federal government under Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and the rest of the woke Democrats that now are defying science, defying God's creation, and only care about governing over people's feelings. You see, the Equality Act is a completely evil, disgusting, immoral bill. It's not about stopping discrimination. It is creating it. It's creating discrimination against every single woman and girl in this country. Over the past century, our great-grandmothers, our mothers fought for women's rights. And the Equality Act with a single vote wipes it out. Every single person should be outraged at this bill. You should be angered. You should be concerned for the safety of all the little girls that are going to go in a bathroom, not knowing if there is a man in there that calls himself a woman.
Literally
you should be angered
doing
for
the trans bathroom fucking fear-mongering shit. Okay, oh my god. It's like these people read a playbook in 2006 and then just keep it going. Fuck it.
Every girl that competes in sports like my daughter, who we traveled the country with for 10 years, so she could earn her scholarship to be a D1 collegiate.
Your daughter's a loser if she lost. Deal with it. Let's be clear here, too. Your daughter, loser. She's a loser who loses. Who has a mother who's a bitch who wins. Yay. God, I fucking hate Marjorie Taylor Greene so much. No calls for violence, Zach. No Minecrafting. God, I hate her.
Athlete and compete in sports. Boys that want to call themselves girls do not belong in my daughter's bathrooms, in my daughter's locker rooms, on my daughter's playing field, traveling with her team where she's forced to share a hotel room with them. No, they don't belong. They should get their own sport, or they should compete with the rest of the biological males, which is what they are. Women should not be forced to have to be in prison with a man in a cell that calls himself a woman, or a battered women's shelter where they've been beaten by men, and then they have to be in there with a man who calls himself a woman. Women should not have to be in drug rehab centers with men who call themselves women. I'm sorry, it's not about their feelings. We have to govern in what's right and wrong, not about people's feelings. This is what's wrong with America today. The Equality Act is completely wrong. Doctors didn't go to medical school for years and years to be forced to perform abortions or mastectomies on teenage girls that are confused and want their breast removed. They should be able to say no to that.
I'm sorry, what does this have to do with abortions? The Equality Act literally has nothing to do with abortions, and you would never be forced to do one as a doctor. What the fuck are you talking about? You can't force a doctor to do a knee surgery. What the fuck are you talking about?
Churches should be able to have their religious freedom.
They do.
Mosques should be able to keep men and women separate, how they choose, because of their religious freedom. The Equality Act wipes that out. You see, no one...
I'm sorry, what?
Keep men and women separate. Churches should be able to have their religious freedom. Mosques should be able to keep men and women separate.
Oh, you care about what happens in mosques quite a bit, don't you, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Also, this has nothing to do with that. It prohibits discrimination based on sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. That includes, public accommodations and facilities and federal funding. Housing, recreation, exercise, gatherings, goods and services and programs, transportation services. This literally has nothing to do with your fucking church.
how they choose because of their religious freedom. The Equality Act wipes that out. You see, no one's talking about all of the consequences that come with the Equality Act, but they're very real. All you have to do is read the text to the bill, which the Democrats lie and tell you that it won't destroy religious freedoms and it won't destroy women's rights.
It literally won't.
Media, I dare you to print the text of H.R. 5, the Equality Act.
Yeah, I dare you to read H.R. 5 because I know for a fact that you can't read. Like, you can go through all of H.R. 5. There's literally never a mention of fucking, of, like, religion outside of you not being able to discriminate based on someone's race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Like, it doesn't exist. You're a liar. Holy shit. Someone needs to Minecraft her. You know what? Let's go ahead. Let's look for church in this instead of, oh look, no church. Let's look for mosque. No mosque. Religion. Oh look, go through all 20 references to religion. Nothing. Like, it's a joke, dude. It amazes me that you can just get up and blatantly lie as a senator. And because of, God, what's that clause? There's some clause that keeps it from, if you're a senator or a president or a House representative, you can just say what the fuck ever you want, and you cannot be held accountable for it because it was within your duties. Like, you can, pretty much anything outside of direct calls for violence, you can say and then not be held accountable for. Just fucking Christ. Yeah, okay, hold on. I'm putting HR 5 in my fucking description right now. Right now. Oh god, do I have to make this a segment? Yeah, I probably do. Fuck. Fucking Lauren Herbert, dude. Or goddamn Marjorie Taylor Greene, dude. Drives me insane. His pattern history, widespread and pervasive discrimination. Numerous provisions of federal law expressly prohibited discrimination based on sex, and federal agencies and courts correctly interpreted the positions of sex discrimination to include discrimination based on sexual orientation. The absence of explicit prohibition of discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, statutory laws created uncertainty for employers. Face discrimination, purchase housing. Housing. Credit applications. This is literally just about fucking poverty. The jury of one's peers. Race, color, race, religion, and sex. Yeah, this is all. So literally everything in here is just saying you can't discriminate against people. The best thing that they could give is the conversion therapy here. And like conversion therapy doesn't have anything to do with your religious liberty. It has everything to do with you not being able to kidnap and torture people.
I dare you to do it. Put the truth out there. That's your job. And you should be very offended by the Democrats. You may not like the views of Fox News or One American News or Newsmax, but you should be very concerned when people in Congress are trying to get rid of colleagues of yours. That's a violation of freedom of press. Everyone in this country should be concerned when the federal government thinks they can grab as much land as they want.
What? What the fuck are you talking about?
When people in Congress are trying to get rid of colleagues of yours. That's a violation of freedom of press. Everyone in this country should be concerned when the federal government thinks they can grab as much land as they want. And every single taxpayer in this country should be mortified at a bill, a $1.9 trillion bill that less than 9% goes to COVID relief when over 100,000 small businesses have been destroyed and children's lives and educations are being ruined. Shame on America. This is devastating. So I'm very happy to come here with my colleagues, people that truly care about right and wrong. We need to govern on what is right, defending our freedoms, and not about people's feelings. Thank you. I turn this over to Congressman Jody Heiss.
Thank you, Marjorie. I'm Jody Heiss from Georgia's 10th.
Okay, let's do this. I'm doing it 1.25 because I can't stand her squawking. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get this fucking bill up over here. As I'm sure you're all well aware, the most pressing issue in America at the moment isn't, let's say, I don't know, people starving to death. It isn't the homelessness crisis. It isn't the lack of vaccines being pushed out. It isn't vaccines actually have picked up quite a decent bit. But it isn't the housing crisis. It isn't the incredibly low wages that people are paid. Like, it isn't the starvation wages that are subsidized by government spending because we're at starvation wages. It isn't the accumulation of wealth towards the top 0.001%. No. What it is that trans people have rights and can use a bathroom that is not to their, birth assigned gender. See, that's the real big issue. Just like how back when I was a kid, and Iraq and Afghanistan weren't the big issues, gay marriage was. Here we are. Iranian facilities being bombed in Syria, no big deal. People starving to death, no big deal. Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to let you know how furious you should be that the Equality Act has passed through the House, not even the Senate, where it's doomed to die. But before we get too far into the content here, if you get to the end of the video and you enjoy the content, please leave a like on the channel or leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It does help the channel grow a ton, and I appreciate it a lot. And with the non-stop endless shilling here, we can go ahead and just hop right in. So, for those of you who don't know, by the way, we'll actually start off with what the Equality Act is a bit. The H.R. 5, or the Equality Act, is a anti-discrimination bill that essentially just takes what we have for anti-discrimination and then adds in some protections for women that weren't there, some protections for trans people that weren't there, like a lot, pretty much adds trans people into the protections in general, as well as the big thing that like right-wingers are mad about is that it's gonna like conversion therapy is now would be considered a form of discrimination, and it's not even like you trying to convert your kid to being straight, which is wrong thing to do, by the way. But it's not even that. It's literally the practice of kidnapping and torturing handing your kid off to a stranger for them to torture until they're pretending to be straight is considered a bad thing to do now. So that's what the whole big crazy discourse is. Trans people would be allowed to compete in sports for the gender that they've transitioned to, and they'd be able to go to bathrooms that they've transitioned to, and also get access to public amenities, and housing discrimination would have to be taken down quite a bit. It's actually like not all. I mean, it'd be a huge thing, great thing for trans people if it went through, and I mean a lot of people for the conversion therapy thing. But it's not like a big detractor to anyone on the right who, unless you just specifically want to discriminate against trans people.
Thank you.
Enter wants to discriminate against trans people.
What are we doing in America? That's my question. This is a country that was founded by brave people seeking religious freedom, demanding that they're able to protect their Second Amendment rights, creating a country where they could run their businesses and not be overtaxed by a tyrant.
I'm sorry. This was founded by people who, in their idea for the country, had the right to bear arms in the idea of it. Are you kidding? It's an amendment to the Constitution. It clearly wasn't in their fucking forefront of their mind far enough that it made it like onto the original, because I can read you the original articles of the Constitution. I have a little booklet here. It's not there because it's an amendment. Didn't make it into the original articles. It's just strange that that's what also the freedom of religion didn't make it into the original articles. Like, it's just strange that that is what like you'd hone in on as the founding fathers' ideas. Like, I don't think that's why people came over here.
Tyrannical government. But now we find ourselves in a time where Democrats are running, indeed, a tyrannical Congress and federal government under Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and the rest of the woke Democrats that now are defying science, defying God's...
Literally just mad because they don't have control of the House anymore, by the way. Like, the Democrats have a thin majority, haven't really passed anything, and have just gotten a couple things through the House. And they're a tyrannical government. Meanwhile, Republicans are planning to fucking filibuster their way past anything Democrats put up. And have been doing pretty much that play for years. And also went through and pushed through with a razor-thin majority, mind you, all kinds of shit that the Democrats aren't willing to do because they don't have 60 votes, they have 50. Like...
creation and only care about governing over people's feelings. You see, the Equality Act is a completely evil, disgusting, immoral bill. It's not about stopping discrimination. It is creating it. It's creating discrimination against every single woman.
Really? So the H.R. 5's provisions pretty much just include all the things that it already did before, but also now trans people can't be discriminated against the same way, and you can't force people into conversion therapy. So, please tell me, how this is discrimination and an attack on women because now trans people can't be denied credit lines and trans people can't be denied access to public amenities that are paid for by their taxes.
And girl in this country. Over the past century, our great-grandmothers, our grandmothers, our mothers fought for women's rights. And the Equality Act with a single vote wipes it out. Every single person should be outraged at this bill. You should be angered. You should be concerned for the safety of all the little girls that are going to go in a bathroom not knowing if there is a man in there that calls himself a woman.
The whole trans bathroom thing is the dumbest fucking discourse ever. Like, it's been the drum that they've been beating for so long with just no point. Like, there's never been an actual problem with this here. Unisex bathrooms exist everywhere. There's literally multiple in the office that I used to work in. I work at home now because of COVID, but in the office I used to work in had multiple. It's never been a problem, and it won't be a problem. Because let me let you in on a little secret that for some reason I think you guys forgot. Sexual assaults, and stuff like that's a crime. Those are still already crimes. Someone who is going to go into a bathroom to assault somebody isn't going to be stopped because that bathroom sign told them they're not allowed in there. Like, are you kidding me? Even if you wanted to go full on, like, crazy authoritarian with it, and you made fucking, like, birth male, birth female bathrooms, and you were forcing people to go into it with a penalty of, like, a 10-year sentence guaranteed. If a dude's plan was to like go into that bathroom and rape somebody, they're going to still do it with the chance of 10 years in prison because they went in the wrong bathroom. I don't know if you know this. They're already committing one of the worst crimes you can commit. They're not going to be stopped by a plastic sign.
You should be angered for every girl that competes in sports like my daughter, who we traveled the country with for 10 years so she could earn her scholarship to be a D1 collegiate athlete and compete in sports.
Let's make something very clear here. If your daughter lost to a trans athlete, that's because she's a loser who loses. Just straight out. Trans athletes are all post-transition and have pretty much the exact same playing field. You know that girl that PragerU loves to pull out that got beat in the track meet by two trans athletes? They didn't get first and second. They got third and fourth. She needed to get to fourth place to get a position to go race at nationals. And then those trans athletes finished like sixth, like fifth and sixth under cis women. Because, surprise, surprise, there's not actually any identifiable fucking, like, difference there. They didn't have any large playing field, like, different playing field. The trans people that are allowed to play, like, sports with their, like, with their gender that they've transitioned to have already transitioned, are already on hormones. Like, they absolutely perform at pretty much the same level as everybody else. And, like, I'll just say it again. If you lose to a trans athlete, that's because you're a loser who lost. Get over it. Get over yourself. You weren't ever going to be good enough to win that competition. Train better, do better.
Boys that want to call themselves girls do not belong in my daughter's bathrooms, in my daughter's locker rooms, on my daughter's playing field, traveling with her team where she's forced to share a hotel room with them. No. They don't belong. They should get their own sport. Or they should compete with the rest of the biological males, which is what they are. Women should not be forced to have to be in prison with a man in a cell that calls himself a woman.
Yeah, so the risk for sexual assault, which, by the way, there's data that you can go and just look this up. there's no increased risk for sexual assault among cis women when there's trans women in a prison. You know who is at a huge risk for sexual assault, though? Trans women when they're put in male prisons. Because, guess what? They're presenting feminine. And if you've transitioned and you are almost like, if you're feminine, like, there's people that, I mean, God, the internet calls them traps for a reason. Like, fucking offensive term. But it's because that you literally can't, like, you won't know the difference between a cis woman and some trans women. Like, some people's transitions are real glow-ups. It's very impressive. Once that gets into a prison setting where there's people who are sexually frustrated and like pent up, where rapes already happen, and you're putting them in a place with people who are there for, like, I mean, especially in federal prisons, who are there for federal crime, like more serious violent crimes, the rate of sexual assault among trans women in male prisons is massive. Like, you can't honestly sit there and tell me that you think that someone like Blair White should go to a male prison instead of a female prison.
Or a battered women's shelter where they've been beaten by men, and then they have to be in there with a man who calls himself a woman. Women should not have to be in drug rehab centers with men who call themselves women. I'm sorry, it's not
what?
about their feelings.
There's already tons of drug rehab centers that have men and women inside of them. Like, that there's drug rehab centers that you have mixed bunking. Like, it's not a problem. That's literally not a problem. Also, when the fuck has Marjorie Taylor Greene cared about the safety of those who are, like, drug addicts? I'm pretty sure that your party has run on pull yourself up by your bootstraps and that drug addicts don't need help. So why do you care about the rehab center in the first place?
We have to govern in what...
Sorry, let me make a separate point. Also, that wouldn't, like, trans people being in a woman's only, even though, like, that's super rare, but woman's only fucking drug rehab center, what's the risk there? What do you think's happening? Like, once again, everything that you could say is already a crime, and and there's no data to support there being an increased risk of that crime happening in drug rehab centers. Like, she's literally just pulling up whatever random emotional thing she can think of and then going, but we can't govern on emotion, guys.
What's right and wrong, not about people's feelings. This is what's wrong with America today. The Equality Act is completely wrong. Doctors didn't go to medical school for years and years to be forced to perform abortions or mastectomies on teenage girls that are confused and want their breasts removed.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about? That is not what the Equality Act would do. First of all, you can't force a doctor to work on your fucking knee. Like, much less something that's even controversial. Like, a doctor has the right to be like, oh no, I'm not going to perform that surgery. Whether their hospital or not, like, wants to keep them if they're not going to perform a surgery, like, if they just don't perform that type of surgery, is up to the hospital, sure, but they can run their own practice. Like, the only things that are in that for like, medical discrimination is that you can't be turning away trans people. You can't be a doctor who does not work on trans people and doesn't handle anyone who's LGBTQ or trans. Like, I'll go ahead and leave a link to HR 5 in the description of the video so you can go over it. And, I mean, you can go ahead and just Control F, search it if you want, scroll through and read all of it. It's honestly not all that dense, and a lot of it is just saying pretty much, here's what's considered discrimination. Here are all the groups that we consider possible to discriminate against. And then it goes over, like, it'll be like race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender. There's other stuff in there too. But essentially, literally anything that you can be discriminated as a group sits in there. And then here's what counts as discrimination. Walk away. Forcing doctors to perform abortions and mastectomies is nowhere near in H.R. 5. That's just a virtue signal.
They should be able to say no to that. Churches should be able to have their religious freedom. Mosques should be able to keep men and...
Marjorie, when have you ever cared about mosques, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Are you kidding me? You literally went up to Ilhan Omar and told her that her swearing in was illegitimate because she swore in on the Quran. Stop virtue signaling.
Women separate, how they choose because of their religious freedom. The Equality Act wipes that out. You see, no one's talking about all of the consequences that come with the Equality Act, but they're very real. All you have to do is read the text to the bill, which the Democrats...
Literally the only consequences you've talked about are religious freedoms, which the only thing, like, we'll go ahead and go through H.R. 5 together right now, actually. But, like, the religious freedoms is the only thing in there that you can even talk about for that is conversion therapy. And that's, I mean, if you're going to argue for conversion therapy, you're just a scumbag. And then, like, hold on, let me roll this back a bit.
But they're very real. All you have to do is read the text.
Because she talked about mosques.
That come with the Equality
Doctors,
Act.
That's the other thing. Like, there's nothing in here that's going to force a doctor to give someone a mastectomy if they don't want to. Now, if they're saying, I won't work with trans people, yeah, they're going to get fucked. But that's okay because they're, once again, scumbags. Let's see. Let's go religion, boys. So there are 20 references of religion in here. These are all just race, color, religion, sex. Race, religion, sex. The race, color, religion, sex. Yeah, there's literally every time religion is mentioned in... Oh, hold on, maybe. No. Race, color, religion, sex. Every time religion is mentioned in here at all, it's to list in religion as one of the things that you can't discriminate against people on. So that kind of blows that out the water. That's an expansion of religious freedoms, unless, once again, you think that conversion therapy needs to be a thing that's protected. Which, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks that Jewish people have space lasers. So, there's a decent chance of this. But, let's see, what else should we do here? Abortion. Oh, look, no even mention of the word abortion. I don't know how to spell hysterectomy. Hold on. I think it's with a Y, right? It is. Okay. Hysterectomy. Oh, look. Nothing for hysterectomy. Doctor. Health. There we go. So, here we can go to the 2 healthcare facilities parts. Findings and purpose. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, referred to as LGBTQ, people commonly experience discrimination in securing access to public accommodations, including restaurants, senior centers, stores, places of or establishments that provide entertainment, healthcare facilities, shelters, government offices, youth service providers, including adoption and foster care providers, and transportation. Forms of discrimination include the exclusion and denial of entry, unequal or unfair treatment, harassment, and violence. This discrimination prevents the full participation of LGBTQ people in society and disrupts the free flow of commerce. Okay, nothing about hysterectomies or abortions there. Any establishment that provides a good service or program, including a store, shopping center, online retailer, service provider, salon, bank, gas station, food bank, service or care center, travel agency, funeral parlor, or establishment that provides healthcare, accounting, or legal services. And let's see. And that's the prohibition on discrimination or segregation in public accommodations. So essentially, it's Section 201 of the Civil Rights Act just gets the amendment that, hey, you need to let gay people in on it. Like, that's it. That's it, guys. So, let's see. Health, I mean, maybe hospital care. Nope. I mean, there's 9, but let's see. Care providers, group care. Yeah, it's just negatives. Children living in foster care, foster care, foster care, foster care. Care centers that we just read. Oh, nope, it's back up at the top. So there's literally nothing in this bill that backs up what she's saying here.
Lie and tell you that it won't destroy religious freedoms and it won't destroy women's rights. Media, I dare you to print the text of H.R. 5, the Equality Act. I dare you to do it. Put the truth out there. That's your job.
I literally just went over it on video. But you can also find multiple places where the media has gone over this. Say, I knew the stuff that's in H.R. 5 before I started reading this because I got that from the news. Like, literally, you can go through this bill and it's just the news gave you a condensed version of it. It's... There's nothing that's removing religious freedoms. There's an expansion of it. There's nothing that's removing women's rights. There's actually expansions of that in work in women's access to health facilities. Let's see. Nothing against, doctors. Like, oh yeah, the only thing that's in there is that if you run a healthcare facility, you can no longer discriminate against who's allowed to go there.
And you should be very offended by the Democrats. You may not like the views of Fox News or One American News or Newsmax, but you should be very concerned when people in Congress are trying to get rid of colleagues of yours. That's a violation of freedom of press. Everyone in this country should be concerned when the federal government thinks they can grab as much land as they want. And every single taxpayer in this country should be mortified at a bill, a $1.9 trillion bill that less than 9% goes to COVID relief, when over 100,000 small businesses have been destroyed and children's lives and educations are being ruined.
I'm sorry. Children's lives and what does that have to do with the relief bill that got passed? That, while I agree $1,400 isn't enough, got pared down because of your party voting against it. Like, legitimately, every time that we have gotten a chance at relief, a chance at a stimulus, the Republican Party has either pushed it out to where it's taken longer to get to there because of repeated amendments and voting no, or they just vote no on it. The only reason that this bill passed through the House is because there's a majority for the Democrats in the House. Literally every Republican voted no. Don't let them fool you. This wasn't about how little is going to these people and that the $15, it was a lot of it about it is that $15 federal minimum wage hike that's in there. And the extra provisions that go to extending the unemployment insurance and the extra provisions that went to the CHAP, the something housing assistance program. It had nothing to do with that. It's literally just them voting against spending government money to help you at all. They weren't going to put anything out. Don't let them trick you.
Shame on America. This is devastating. So I'm very happy to come here with my colleagues, people that truly care about right and wrong. We need to govern on what is right, defending our freedoms, and not about people's feelings. Thank you. I turn this over to Congressman Jody Heiss.
Well, so that was all a bunch of very verifiable lies. We can honestly, there's still a chance that the Equality Act is passed in the House, but it's probably going to die in the Senate. Please, if you care about LGBTQ rights, give a call to your state's representatives. Let them know how you feel about the Equality Act. Try to get the word out as much as you can, because people like Marjorie Taylor Greene desperately do not want this to pass, and it's just to be a virtue signal to their constituents. There's no actual reasoning behind it. It's just so their constituents will get the feel-goods. Oh, boy. Which one's this about? Conservative media. Right, potato head. Oh, God. Kill me now. Like, that video drove me nutty. Am I still alive? I'm still alive, baby. Hey, hey, hey. Okay. Let's change this to AOC in Texas. Ted Cruz, CPAC virtue signal. Update Alu. Oh, please don't tell me I'm out of water. I'm almost out. Fuck. Shit, I've only been live for an hour and a half. It feels like I've been live for a day. Alright, we're going to have a treat time. It's time to just check out some Democracy Now! We ain't doing the full hour. Let's see, they had 3 big news stories.
From New York,
US
this
policing.
is Democracy Now!
Hey, Malcolm X. Yup.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The Quarantine Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The FBI and New York police departments are facing new calls to finally open their records related to the assassination of Malcolm X, shot dead 56 years ago at the Audubon Ballroom in Harlem, February 21st, 1965. This comes after the release of a deathbed confession of a former undercover New York police officer who admitted to being part of a broad New York police and FBI conspiracy targeting Malcolm. In the confession, the former officer, Raymond Wood, who died last year, admitted he entrapped 2 members of Malcolm's security team in another crime, a plot to blow up the Statue of Liberty, just days before the assassination. On Saturday, Ray Wood's cousin, Reggie Wood, read the letter at a news conference at the Shabazz Center in Harlem.
It was my assignment to draw the 2 men into a felonious federal crime so that they could be arrested by the FBI and kept away from managing Malcolm X's Audubon Ballroom door security on February 21st, 1965.
In his letter, Raymond Wood also revealed he was inside the Audubon Ballroom at the time of Malcolm's assassination. At least one other undercover New York police officer, Gene Roberts, was also inside after infiltrating the security team of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, the group Malcolm founded after leaving the Nation of Islam. Both officers, Wood and Roberts, were part of the Bureau of Special Services and Investigations, or BOSSI, a secretive political intelligence unit of the NYPD nicknamed the Red Squad. Following Malcolm's assassination, police arrested 3 members of the Nation of Islam for his murder. But questions about the guilt of the men have lingered for decades. In his letter, Raymond Wood openly says one of the men, Thomas Johnson, was innocent and was arrested to, quote, protect my cover and the secrets of the FBI and the NYPD, unquote. Ray Wood's letter echoes claims in recent books by Manning Marable and Les Payne that some of Malcolm's actual assassins were never charged. In a moment, we'll be joined by Raymond Wood's cousin Reggie Wood, who released his deathbed confession. But first, I want to turn to the words of Malcolm X himself, speaking after his home in Queens was firebombed just a week before his assassination, February 14th, 1965.
My house was bombed. It was bombed by the black Muslim movement upon the orders of Elijah Muhammad. Now, they had come around to, they had planned to do it from the front and the back so that I couldn't get out. They covered the front completely, the front door. Then they had come to the back, but instead of getting in directly in the back of the house and throwing it this way, they stood at a 45-degree angle and tossed it at the window, so it glanced and went on to the ground. And the fire hit the window, and it woke up my second oldest baby. But the fire burned on the outside of the house. But had that one gone through that window, it would have fallen on a 6-year-old girl, a 4-year-old girl, and a 2-year-old girl. And I'm going to tell you, if it had done it, I'd taken my rifle and gone after anybody in sight. I would not wait. And I say that because of this. The police know the criminal operation of the black Muslim movement because they have thoroughly infiltrated it.
Because they have thoroughly infiltrated it. Those are the words of Malcolm X right before his assassination, right after his home was firebombed in February of 1965. Just days later, he was shot seconds after he took the stage at the Audubon Ballroom. We're joined now by Reggie Wood, the cousin of Raymond Wood, author of the new book, The Ray Wood Story, Confessions of a Black NYPD Cop in the Assassination of Malcolm X. Still with us, civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who attended that news conference with Reggie Wood at the Audubon Ballroom, now the Shabazz Center, where Malcolm X was assassinated 56 years ago. Reggie, thank you so much for joining us. You read parts of the letter this weekend. Talk about your cousin, Ray Wood, and what you understand happened, the conspiracy he alleges that he was a part of by the FBI and the New York Police Department to assassinate Malcolm X.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Ray was a complicated man. I think based on his past experiences, he lived with a lot of fear and caution on a daily basis, which he instilled in me over the past 10 years. But Ray was a person that lived as he lived as a very quiet and reserved person because of what he had experienced. He witnessed some horrible things firsthand and also realized that he was a part of it after the fact. And so therefore, Ray was told by his handlers that not to repeat anything that he had seen or heard, or he would join Malcolm. Therefore, for 46 years, Ray separated himself from the family and in fear that he would put us in danger. Ray lived alone many years, and he finally, in his final years, when he realized that his cancer was reoccurring, he wanted to reconnect with family because he didn't want to die alone. So I volunteered to move him to Florida so that my wife and I could take care of him and get him back and forth to his cancer treatments and things of that nature. And therefore, he trusted me enough to reveal this information and ask me not to say anything until he passed away, but at the same time, not to allow him to take it to his grave.
You write in your book, Reggie Wood, he'd spent years living in relative obscurity, wanting to ensure the cops wouldn't preemptively act to silence him. He also feared retribution from society, especially the black community. Ray was ashamed of what he'd been a part of and felt he'd betrayed his own people. Due to his lugubrious feelings about his...
Hey, let me be legit. He should have been afraid. I don't think that there's many black people in the black community that wouldn't take their chance to absolutely Minecraft the people who killed Malcolm X. They should be afraid.
Actions and fear for what might be done to him in retaliation. This 2015 article deeply impacted Ray, and he's talking about this news coverage from February. He was talking about the article by Garrett Felber in The Guardian that really laid out your cousin's seminal involvement here and the FBI police involvement in the assassination.
Yes, that book really details everything that happened. I felt that after consulting with Mr. Crump, I was looking for the best way to put this information out there. I wasn't sure if it was safe to turn it over to authorities. Therefore, I just wrote everything that Ray told me into this memoir and made it available to the world so that everyone would see it and hear it at the same time. And I think that's the best way to do it. It's a load off of my back because I'm no longer in fear of the government trying to quiet me as well.
I want to turn to news coverage from February 9th.
There, we're going to go ahead and we'll stop it here because I'm very hungry and I want to record a couple more segments before I can go ahead and go eat. But that's very interesting. You guys should really check out this Democracy Now! Thing. I need to read that book. Yeah, I need to... how much is it? Hold on. Fucking Reggie Wood. What, the Ray Wood story? Let's see. I'm actually not finding anywhere that you can even buy it. What the fuck? Wait, what? Maybe he hasn't been published yet? Yeah, because I'm finding German German Apple books where you can find it. What the fuck? So if you go to Amazon, you can find it. But if you Google search it, the Amazon page for it doesn't come up. Wow. Like, they straight are trying to suppress this, bro. Oh my god. That's insane. When did this get published? This got published... Okay, February 13th. Okay. I thought that said 2013. No, this got published like 14 days, like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it's only $20 too. I might buy this. I'm going to buy this and read a copy of it. Maybe do a video on it. But yeah, this is... Like, they are hardcore trying to... Wow. That's insane. Okay. Sorry, that was just kind of blowing my mind there. Close that out. Face of a giant whale. Okay, what do we do? What do you guys want to do first? You want to do Ted Cruz or AOC? The AOC one's kind of old news, but I'm sure Matt Walsh makes a riveting point on why her raising $3 million to help people is actually a bad thing, you see. Yeah, I'll do that, and then I'm gonna tail off on Ted Cruz, and then we'll end the stream after that. That'll give you guys about a solid 2.5 hour stream. It's not a long one, but it's a something, right? Plus, I would very much like to eat. So, for those of you who were living under a rock for the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, I hate to inform you that Texas had still having, a very, very bad snowstorm that at the time was knocking out its power grid entirely, leaving people to having to sleep in their cars, huddled together for warmth. Some people were freezing to death. There were starvations because of food going bad in people's fridges and freezers. Not being able to cook it because lines are frozen. Or if you had an electric stove, you're absolutely screwed. Like, all kinds of bad things happening. And Ted Cruz took a flight to Cancun during that. And everyone was around to go, well, I say everyone. Everyone on the right-wing punditry side was around to go, well, what was Ted Cruz supposed to do? Legislate against it? Was he gonna pick up a power drill and fix the lines himself? Like, no, that's not what anyone had ever been saying. You definitely have a ton of, resources that you can get to as a senator to reach out to the president, to reach out to aid organizations, reach out to the multiple people who were donating benefactors to your campaign. There's a lot you can do for outreach to make sure that people are at least getting some amenities brought to them to keep them alive and surviving. But Ted Cruz did not. He tried to take a flight to Cancun, got caught, then took a picture of him handing out some water from his trunk, and that was about that. Meanwhile, there were multiple people who weren't even in government who were in Texas that were raising almost millions of dollars, if not millions, to get out food and aid to people, calling people up, seeing who needed food and aid, and getting it delivered out to people, Beto O'Rourke, and also people who are in government but aren't Texans, who did an amazing amount of work to help people out. And that's what we're going to talk about now, because Matt Walsh wants to explain to us, just dumb plebeians, how AOC raising $3 million and assisting in the distribution efforts for food, water, and assistance with getting winter clothing and blankets and stuff like that out, care packages out to people, was actually just her taking advantage of the situation in Texas. See, none of that was any good. She's just a dirty trickster who wanted to take advantage of you. Now, before we get too far into the video, if you get to the end of the video and you enjoy the content, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow, and I appreciate it a ton. And with the shill out of the way, let's check on over here. I'm doing this
late last week, as we covered on this show, Senator Ted Cruz, just talked about, came under intense scrutiny and backlash after it was revealed that he had traveled with his family to Cancun during the winter storm disaster in his state. This was a huge controversy for reasons that nobody could ever quite explain. Even after
Oh, but I did though, huh? It's interesting that I was able to quite explain it in a minute and change, why a senator not leaving the state and actually you know, helping people instead of going on a vacation to Mexico would would maybe, I don't know, help. Like, you have a lot of resources available to you as a senator. It's not just you being able to vote yes or no on bills.
He revised his plans and returned home. The outrage had not quite abated. In fact, the media was tracking Cruz's family, his wife and daughters now, in Cancun. A New York Post headline announced, quote, Ted Cruz's family seen soaking up the Cancun sun while Texas shivers. I have to admit, that's pretty outrageous. You know, Ted Cruz's daughters should be back in Texas working to fix the power grid. Damn lazy kids nowadays. Back in my day, when there was an outage, my parents had me climb up the pole to fix the power lines myself. I had to do it without shoes, too. Uphill both ways.
You know what? I don't doubt that, Matt Walsh. Like, that someone somewhere along the way had to have fucking hurt you. Because while Michael Knowles goes mask off every once in a while, and Ben Shapiro even less, Matt Walsh is just an ethno-nationalist. Like, he is open and proud about it. The level of hate that lives inside of this man doesn't come along without somebody hurting him. So I don't doubt that your parents decided to fucking send you up a power line at 3 years old to go fix your shit.
But these are softer and more delicate times, I suppose. Anyway, the PR crisis for Cruz became an opportunity for others, like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, shortly after Cancun-gate went viral, announced that she would be traveling to Texas to help out herself. Totally coincidental timing, I'm sure. As the local ABC affiliate in Houston reported, AOC, quote, toured Houston storm damage. Now, why did a representative from New York need to fly down to a city, a different state, 1,600 miles away to tour the storm damage? Well, the cynical among
to see where you would need assistance. Like, even because, yes, it is a good PR move to go and help people in the middle of natural disasters. But there was also plenty of people who did that during hurricanes and stuff, too. I mean, do you remember President Trump dunking paper towels over to people in fucking Puerto Rico that you, I guarantee, defended on your show? Like, that's why. Because, one, PR, and two, it turns out if you're a progressive that cares about people, you don't stop caring about them when the state changes. Like, so people in need of help, while you have the ability to help them, yeah, you should go and help. Like, morally, yes, you should. Ethically, yes, you should. And that is what AOC did. AOC went to go help with the redistribution processes, and then also fundraised $3 million.
Us might theorize that this was nothing more than a glorified Instagram photo shoot. In fairness, though, she did more than tour the damage. There's also video of her lifting packages of water bottles and putting them in people's trunks, which is also nice. But again, those darn cynical people might say that the workers and volunteers taking care of the mess down in Houston really didn't need a high-profile politician from up north to fly down to help pick up water bottles.
Oh, really? Okay. So yeah, they didn't need the physical help of him picking up the water bottles. I wonder if that $3 million in donations has anything to do with her being able to say, I am down here on the front lines helping. Here's how you can help from home. Like, you have to be sitting in such a disingenuous place for this to be your take.
I mean, there's no practical advantage to her presence there. She brings media, she brings probably extra security.
She brings media and extra, so 2 practical advantages, huh?
Other logistical concerns that vastly outweigh the benefit.
Oh, the media's a concern. I'm sorry. The media being around to report on where you can get food and water, the organizations that are helping distribute them, and who is helping to get the money to distribute it is a concern. Got it.
Of having her there to put water bottles in people's trunks and make concerned facial expressions while looking at the storm damage. I doubt that any emergency worker or charity volunteer has ever been in the middle of a crisis and then stopped to look around and said to themselves, you know what we really need here? You know what we need? We need a famous politician trailed by a line of journalists with cameras.
I bet you there's plenty of emergency workers who have been very upset that they're underfunded and that, I don't know, could use a donation of some money that you do through fundraising.
That would make everything run smoother. If AOC really wanted to provide extra manpower, she could have delegated. She could have sent some people down or helped to recruit locals. She did help raise money for the storm relief, which is good.
No, she literally did also do those things that you're saying, though. She literally did send some people down and helped recruit locals to go about the distribution of the food.
But the part where she shows up in person to lift up water bottles on camera, that's where you might suspect that there's more to this than her passion for charity work. At least a cynical person might think that. Let's be fair, though. She didn't just tour the storm damage or put water bottles in trunks. She also, of course, found a microphone and a podium to give a speech. And here's some of that.
So those are the only things she did. I like how he mentions the fundraising, but doesn't mention how much it was or that it's the most that anyone has raised for the cause so far, or where it's going. It's just that she was there. Got it.
We need to make sure that we're getting food and assistance.
Mean lady spoke in front of microphone. That means she's bad?
People across the state, as was mentioned, here at the Houston Food Bank, no questions are asked. So you come up and you need help, you do not have to prove a damn thing. Documentado o indocumentado, puedes tener asistencia y puedes tener ayuda aquí in the Houston Food Bank. If you are documented, undocumented, no matter what your income, no matter your housing status, you can get help here, which is one of the reasons why we are so proud to support the Houston Food Bank, because we want to help everybody. You need it, we'll be there.
Gee, you know, it really looks and sounds like this woman flew down to Texas in the middle of a natural disaster to pose for cameras and deliver a stump speech. I mean, it's the Houston Food Bank. Do they need a congresswoman from New York to come and speak for them? Are they not capable of doing that themselves?
I'm sorry. So, you think that there would be less media coverage on the fact that they're allowing anyone to come down to get food, documented or not? You think there'd be less media coverage if AOC wasn't talking about it? Like, come on, dude. Or sorry, if AOC, like with AOC talking about it, that lowered the coverage. That made it so less people knew that that this food bank had these policies. Like, as much as they hate to admit it, she has a huge name and media draw, and that means something for getting a message out.
What she just said there, was there no one who actually works at the food bank and no local person that could have gotten on camera and said all that? They need to fly her in to say that? It looks like she was taking advantage. It looks and sounds that way because that's exactly what she did. It's the same person who...
It looks and sounds that way because you're an idiot. Like, goddamn. Like, there's a few people that... I mean, Ben Shapiro, at least he's dumbing down his message for his fans. I am 100% confident that with zero preparation, them choosing the topic, people like fucking Mark Dice, Matt Walsh, fucking Salty Crap, like all these idiots, a child could beat them in a debate with no preparation, them choosing the topic, and them choosing the side of the topic that I have to be on. Because it wouldn't take much more than letting them just talk themselves into an idiot circle.
Claimed that Ted Cruz was trying to kill her, which, by the way, what are you doing going down to Texas? Ted Cruz is there. He didn't leave.
You said he's trying to kill you. He's in Cancun.
Putting her on, but
like, when AOC was already down in Texas, Ted Cruz was still on his fucking plane.
I guess she's more courage from this woman, taking her life into her hands like that. There's also the same woman who claimed that she had a near-death experience in the riots, even though the rioters never came near her or entered the building she was in. She has a history of dramatically exploiting crises for political gain.
Okay, that's a that's a real nice way to put fucking, like, her talking about, like, that security guard coming in and then her being sent to the wrong wing of the fucking, like, Capitol. It's... The amount of spin that that right-wing punditry does, like, I wish I was way more morally bankrupt and didn't care about people and like their actual like the means of their lives and keeping people alive and healthy, because it would be so easy to just be a right-winger, dude. I could just make a video about how I'm a black dude who's just leaving the left. I left the left. And like I believe that fucking free market's the way to go. It's the only way. The competition makes everything better. AOC is a dirty liar, and I hate the women's. Oh, trans people can't be in bathrooms. Like, I could literally just do that, have nothing, no substance, have no idea of any of the issues that I'm talking about, and have a way bigger channel than I do right now, while I'm sitting around actually knowing what I'm talking about, actually looking into the things that I talk about before I go live, before I hit record to talk about them, and here's where I am. Like, being a lefty is actual work. Goddamn, I wish I was morally bankrupt.
And if you have any lingering doubts and think that maybe she really went to Texas to perform charity work on camera for entirely benevolent reasons, then consider that communities in her own state, her own city, were devastated over the summer by BLM rioting, and she never showed up to help the victims there, much less give speeches advocating for them.
I'm sorry, what?
She chose Texas for a reason.
I'm sorry, what? That's a blatant lie. AOC absolutely was also in the, like, fucking, was there during the cleanup shit for like after riots. Like, there was plenty of photo ops where she was there, where literally the same thing you're doing right now, right-wing punditry went and did, where they went, oh, AOC taking advantage of the riots that she caused. Like, it's absolute fucking just nonsense jokes at this point. And it's what drives me insane is that this works. People who watch Matt Walsh, they're like, the people who watch this shit will eat it up 100% guaranteed. Because they're dumb.
By the way, she's also been clear that people shouldn't be traveling during the pandemic, number one. And people actually shouldn't be traveling by plane at all because it's destroying the environment and bringing mankind to the brink of extinction. It's actually causing exactly the kinds of weather events that devastated Texas, according to her. You think this would be all the more reason to not fly to Texas when there's clearly no practical benefit to her physical presence in the state. But it wasn't about the practical benefit, except in the sense that political benefit.
I mean, okay, I've already gone over the practical benefits, but this is literally the same level of, like, big brain IQ-edness of, like, oh, I see you criticize capitalism, but you own a t-shirt. How curious! Like, bro. Yes, you can criticize things, and while they're the only option for the system that you're in, still use them while trying to get a better system built. Like, fucking, and like the not traveling, well, let's be clear here. Not traveling during a pandemic applies a lot more to things like, I don't know, taking vacations to Cancun rather than going somewhere for business, especially as a senator. Like, we never even stopped business travel in general, first off. We stopped international traveling, but we didn't even stop business travel in the first place. So that's a fucking, like, complete nothing there. But, like, even if you want to go from that angle, or sorry, if you want to exclude that angle, and you go back to the climate change thing, like, yeah, the prevalence of flying and, like, the fuel that's used absolutely has attributed to climate change. There are no green energy planes currently, so she couldn't hop on one to fly down there. You're not going to have less of an eco footprint taking a train or driving there either. So, and like, there wasn't a better option. it's a pointless gotcha it's another one of those things that right-wingers like to do, where it's like I said, you like to criticize society, yet you live in it. Curious.
Are practical. Now, I don't mean to pick on AOC here. She is so transparently opportunistic that it's hard not to pick on her, but it's not like she's the first politician to swoop down into a crisis like this. She wasn't the only politician getting in the way down there in Texas. Even Ted Cruz showed up to carry water bottles around after he got all that guff for trying to leave town. It's a pretty standard political procedure, using a natural disaster as a campaign event. Politicians have been doing that forever, of course, but that doesn't make it any better. Ted Cruz had it right the first time. It's better for these people to just get out of the way.
Ted Cruz had
than
it
for
right
them to
the
show up
first
for the
time.
photo shoot.
The best thing that you can do for your constituency is to not try to help at all. Don't try to point out anything for like where people can go to get food and water, where people can go for shelter. Like, don't try to put out any fundraising links. Don't try to contact anybody in state or any of your multiple benefactors who got you into your office to see if they can help fundraise. None of that's worth anything. Go to a vacation in Cancun and let your constituents die, because that's the way to be a politician, apparently. Fuck, I hate Matt Walsh, dude. Oh, these people are the worst in the world. They're the actual worst humans who ever lived. Great, now my hair's all wild because I fucking took it out. Oh, God. Kill me now, please. Oh, how many videos do I have? I have a decent chunk. I have not gotten a single viewer this entire time. That sucks. That really sucks. Hurting my pride here, boys. Hurting my pride. Oh well, we'll go ahead and finish this out with some... I will do Ted Cruz, but I don't... The human version, damn it. I fucked that up immediately because I'm garbage. Fuck. Like, within seconds. The human version. Like, I talk all the time. How can I not get this right just once? Jesus. The human version. Fucking tonsil stones, dude. Need to smoke less, I'll get less of them. Okay. The human version of the Jerry Slug from Rick and Morty, Ted Cruz, has really needed to do some damage control on his reputation recently. I mean, he narrowly won his Senate seat during the last time that he ran. And, I mean, recently it's now plagued with him accepting, like, the president calling his wife ugly, him accepting that the ex-president has said that his dad helped kill JFK, constant public humiliation as he proves himself to be an absolute idiot, and then followed up by leaving his constituents to freeze and starve to death while him and his family take a fucking Cancun vacation. So he's needed needless to say, he's needed a little bit of work on his PR. So, what better place to do that than CPAC? Now, Blaze TV would like to believe that the internet's exploded with this epic Ted Cruz speech on freedom. I hadn't heard of it until I googled CPAC and that was a video that came up, so we'll see just how epic it really is. I'm willing to bet, since it's coming from Ted Cruz, it's going to be pretty sad. But hey, before we get too far into it, if you get to the end of the video and you enjoy the content, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel grow a ton, and I do appreciate it. And with the shill out of the way, let's hop on in here. We'll do this at 1.25 right as well.
In Los Angeles, there's some skater kid who's 19, who's told that it's hip and chic and cool to be a leftist socialist man. Who's going to hear a message? Wait a second.
It's so quiet. Like, this is as loud as I can get the volume to go, guys.
These guys don't want me to speak, think, have fun, do what I want to do. The message of liberty is profoundly subversive.
I'm sorry. So what he's laying out here, because I haven't actually watched this speech, what he's laying out here is the situation where apparently the reason that socialists exist in higher amounts now isn't because, like, the ideas are actually popular or we've gotten popular support through, you know, pushing policies that help people instead of policies that leave people behind. It's because it's hip and cool, you see. And the situation that he's laying out here is that this kid will see, well, the hip and cool socialists won't let me do what I want to do or say what I want to say. Which, if the N-word is what you want to say, yeah, they won't. But let's go ahead and deconstruct that outside of just being able to say the N-word. Like, the Conservative Party is the group of people who push for you to not be able to marry who you want to marry, to not be able to, like, if they had their way, you wouldn't have, like, all the religious freedoms would stop at Christianity. You don't have the freedom to abortions. You wouldn't have the freedom to bodily autonomy. Forced discrimination laws. You wouldn't have the freedom of being able to buy a home or rent a home that's anywhere next to white people. Like, absolutely. The party of freedom, I mean, if you're gonna go Republican or Democrat, go towards the Democrat, but socialists are way, way more free people than conservatives will ever be.
The left believes in rigid conformity. We believe in diversity, free speech. You can say whatever you want, no matter how dumb.
Unless your name's Young Pharaoh.
It is. And by the way, in Washington, D.C., we test that proposition.
You really do, Ted Cruz. Like, I feel like that's supposed to be a dig at other people, but Ted Cruz says some of the dumbest shit in the Senate.
Liberty, you can worship however you like on your knees before Almighty God. Or you can worship the almighty dollar. Or you can worship, I don't know, pink Martians. That's the beauty of freedom. Really,
because the Conservative Party really hates on the Satanist Church pretty often. Like, this entire thing is just going to be contradictions, so I promise I won't pause for all of them, but it's just really, really funny when you hear these epic speeches coming from conservatives, and it's literally just them saying, like, the direct opposite of what their party is and then walking off stage.
Freedom, the Second Amendment. Oh, the left hates the Second Amendment because they want their people docile and compliant. You know, when we saw riots all across the country, I remember there.
Also, the left doesn't hate liberals aren't big fans of the Second Amendment. The left doesn't hate the Second Amendment. There's literally multiple socialist gun clubs that are essentially the NRA, except they don't make excuses for when cops shoot black people.
That riots were going to come into suburban, mostly peaceful, fiery but mostly peaceful. There were reports riots were going to come into the suburbs. I got to tell you, in Houston, where I live, there weren't any rioters. Because let's be very clear and discover what the state of Texas thinks about the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
There weren't any in Houston. There were ones in Dallas, though. Like, the right to bear arms. Clear here. Ted Cruz just advocated for shooting at CPAC. So that's great. Like, the reason that there weren't any of these people down here is because I had my guns with Texans have our guns with us. Bro, there was protests. And the reason that riots didn't happen in Houston is because Houston police weren't actively escalating it. Literally the only times that riots kicked off were when police started actively escalating things with people.
So defend liberty. But number two, have fun. Have fun. You know, so many on the right, they act like they got a stick inserted somewhere it doesn't belong. Like, just lighten up. Especially now, the left, they are shrill. They are angry. How many leftists does it take to screw in a light bulb?
4. Light bulb. 2, to tell him that the actual correct way to turn the light bulb is you have to climb on this side of the staircase and then spin the light bulb this direction. And then 1 telling him the electricity is actually a delicacy of the bourgeoisie.
That's not funny!
My joke was way better. My joke was way, way better. Come on. How many leftists does it take to change a light bulb? Like, the answer is definitely 4 to 5. At least, if it's not one person telling you it's a second one, a bourgeois delicacy. Like, my joke was way better. Also, lefties make fun of ourselves all the time. Have you ever seen that clip of, like, it's a bunch of people, I think they're like college students, sitting around a bunch of, like a couple of lobsters fighting each other, and like they're throwing money at it, and it just says lefties, 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 and then it's fucking lefties over the lobsters too. Like, absolutely. Fucking, we are vicious with each other. Go on lefty Twitter sometime. We are absolutely vicious.
Like, God bless. Who would want to be around these people? You know, Jerry comedy anymore because any joke that's funny is canceled.
Jerry Seinfeld doesn't do comedy anymore because Jerry Seinfeld isn't funny and couldn't draw a crowd. So he made an excuse about how no one can laugh at his stuff anymore, so he won't go to colleges. Even though he wasn't touring colleges in the first place.
You know, SNL is unwatchable. The late night comedy, they stand up and say, we hate
SNL's
Donald
always
Trump.
been
Yeah,
fucking
no kidding.
unwatchable, dude.
We didn't get that the last 9,000 times you told that. You know, in 2020, the New York Times reported that 60% of women named Karen voted for Joe Biden. Real. You can look it up, the fact checkers, that's what the New York Times reported, and I'm willing to bet 80 Joe Biden.
That might be the best joke he's told. That might be the best joke we've actually heard. 3 of the people that I've done a segment on call themselves comedians. So, there we are.
Just have fun. You know, yesterday, John Boehner made some news. He suggested that I do something that was anatomically impossible.
Oh, yeah, no, John Boehner, because even the ghoul that is John Boehner recognizes what a little parasitic slug Ted Cruz is.
To which my response was, who's John Boehner?
You got no claps because everyone knows. I guarantee you that everyone in that crowd absolutely knows who John Boehner is. It was like 4 or 5 years ago that he was the Speaker of the House.
And you know what? There are a whole lot of voices in Washington that want to just erase the last 4 years. Want to go back to the world before, where we had government of the lobbyists, by the lobbyists, and for the lobbyists. Where the Republicans' compelling message.
lobbying funds didn't slow down during Donald Trump's presidency. Like, lobbyists have always been since I think it was around the 80s or 70s or 80s were like massive problem. And ever since then, it's been a problem. Like, it didn't stop during Donald Trump's presidency.
Which was Republicans, we waste less. And they look at Donald J. Trump and they look at them who went to battle fighting alongside President Trump, and they're terrified. And they want him to go away. Let me tell you this right now, Donald J. Trump ain't going anywhere.
Yes. Let me, Daddy, call my wife ugly again. Ted Cruz is such a spineless coward, dude.
And the Republican Party,
like,
is not the...
If his wife wasn't also a scumbag, I'd almost feel bad for her.
Party just of the country clubs. The Republican Party is the party of steel workers and construction workers and pipeline workers and taxi cab drivers and cops and firefighters and waiters and waitresses and the men and women with calluses on their hands who are working for this country. That is our party, and these deplorables are here to stay.
That's not where you're ending your speech. That would have been at least an okay speech ender, even though it's a direct lie. Like, the Republican Party, while sure some of your voters are, well, I mean, a lot of your voters are people who are actual workers, you're not the party of workers. Like, you're a party of fucking corporate stooge elites. Just like the Democratic Party.
Every one of you has a platform. Every one of you has a voice. The corporate media wants to silence these voices. You have a platform. You know, last year I launched a podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Over 25 million downloads in a year.
Couldn't bother to, I don't know, talk about Texas Aid on that podcast, though.
By the way, please.
Definitely. Everyone else, they all have you all have a platform, though. Why should I be the one who needs to use my platform to help the people who voted for me? You have a platform. You use it.
Please go subscribe. Verdict with Ted Cruz. Verdict with Ted Cruz. Click on subscribe. 5 stars, please. But you know what? You have the same platform. You have social media. You have your friends, your neighbors, your family, your classmates. Speak out for freedom. Because I'm going to close with these words of encouragement. These are dark days, and the media tells us this is the new galactic empire forever and 1,000 years. But already Joe Biden and the radicals in his administration, they are already overshooting. They are already going too far. Their policies don't work. They are disasters. They are bad. They are destroying jobs. They are stripping our freedom.
Literally all that the Biden admin has done has reopened the cages while they looked for places to put the kids, in which kids in cages is bad, guys. Don't care the reasoning that you're giving me. It's bad. And canceled the Keystone XL pipeline, which were literally 2-month, 3-month long jobs anyway. So, like, I'd be interested to see what the fuck he's even talking about.
And there is a natural pendulum to politics. And the country will come back to sanity. And mark my words, 2022 is going to be a fantastic election year. And so is 2024 as we stand together and defend liberty, defend the Constitution, defend the Bill of Rights of every American. In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom!
That's how he ended his speech. He gave his whole, like, he had a good, decent end there, where he did the party of, party of workers, party of steel workers, Calisthans, thing. And then he decided to talk about the Galactic Empire and fucking William Wallace? What? The only thing I will give him there is that 2022, the way the Democrats are playing their power right now, probably will be decent for Republicans. Because it's real hard to convince someone to vote for somebody when they've proven while they have both majorities, they still won't go out to help you. Like, if Democrats keep fucking around for the next 2 years, next year, during this, like, they are absolutely going to get themselves primaried. I'm primaried, sorry. They're primaried too. But they're absolutely going to get themselves out of a seat and out of majority. Because there's, like, you can't go and say, hey, we need to keep the House majority because, well, I know they're not doing shit with it, but think of the bad shit that the other guys could do, though. Like, that's not an effective vote, like, polling strategy. That's not effective to get people out to vote. All right, guys. I'm going to end it out here. My food's on the way, and I am kind of tired. Hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like on any of the other videos you watch and subscribe to the channel. I would very much appreciate it. And have a good one.